Hey guys, what's shaking, man? It's me, it's Rod, your happy hippie, here to do another video. Hope everyone's having a great one. And this is just going to be a quick one. Some recent vinyl finds and things like that. We crack a adult beverage here. It's at nighttime, it's not early morning, so I can drink without guilt. First up, I want to show something in here. I'm going to get closer to you guys. We're going to get comfortable. I'm going to get comfortable up close. There we go. Soundtrack to the movie Times Square. Now, Beth B-Sides showed this album, Gatefold. It's from a 1980 movie. She showed it not too long ago. And ironically, I had just picked it up like the day before. And before I get further into this album, I'm going to ask the question. Is it wrong to take an album out of somebody else's apartment? To take it without their permission? Hold your answers, think about that. I'm going to come back at the end of the video because I did just that, and we're going to talk about why and how I did it. Okay, we're going to get going with the album Eat It by Humble Pie. Our good buddy Randy Weaver showed this as part of some of his favorite albums ever made. This one still has the booklet that came with it. Humble Pie. Peter Frampton, I believe, had left at this point of the band. Hold 1 second, guys. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, Peter Frampton had left the band at this point. It's Eat It is the name of the album. It's a double album. On side 4, they pay like a tribute to the Rolling Stones, and they do an amazing rendition of Honky Tonk Woman. Great song. And it's done really well by Humble Pie. And I had this in my booth at work. I have a booth inside a friend of mine's antique shop, and that's kind of how I support myself and my wife. And it was in there, and I saw Randy show it in his video. And Randy's got really good taste in music. And when he recommended it, I said, dude, I got that album. I'm going to pull it out of the booth, and I'm glad I did. This is now in my collection, registered on my Discogs. This is mine. It's a keeper. It's a really cool album. These next, let's see, 3 I picked up from the same guy. I've mentioned his name before. His name's Tony. He has Clefone Antiques in the same town where I'm at. And he had some really cool albums. The Jim Carroll Band, Catholic Boy, has this song on there, People Who Died. Early punk, definitely American punk, really cool song. I don't know if anybody remembers that besides me. I'm going to go ahead and drop the needle on it. But he had this, and it was kind of dirty, but it cleaned up so well. I'm like, man, it's Jim Carroll, and he wasn't familiar with him. And he just kind of threw it in with a couple other albums that I bought from him. But I'm going to go ahead and drop the needle on this and let it play in the background. So if you hold tight, I'll go ahead and put it on. Alright guys, I'm back. I'm going to start it off with the second to the last song on side 1, Nothing Is True by Jim Carroll. Loved this album when I was in junior high school, and I got it again. So Jim Carroll, he wrote the Basketball Diaries that was turned into a screenplay, and there's a famous actor in that movie. Leo, our boy Leo, played in the movie. The Basketball Diaries was written by old Jim. Can y'all hear it in the background? Jim Carroll, some early punk. And speaking of punk, more American punk, the Ramones, It's Alive. Got it from the same guy. Gatefold album. This is an English pressing. In fact, I may be wrong, but I could not find a U.S. pressing on Discogs. So I don't know if it just was never, you know, pressed in the U.S. or what. But the Ramones, it's alive. Sound is really good. Ramones, always a fun band. Of course, it has Wanna Be Sedated. Some great, great stuff. The Ramones in their prime, live. And he gave me a really sweet, sweet deal. And the third one I got from him, the Doors. Still had the original hype sticker on it. Or price tag, I should say, not hype sticker. This album was released in the early 80s. It was a bunch of outtakes of live shows that was never released while the Doors were actually together. The name of the album is Alive, She Cried. Light My Fire, of course, is going to be on it, but they also do a great version of Gloria. And I remember this album coming out back in the day. And I remember when it came out, a couple DJs, I was a kid in high school, junior high school, talking about whether it should or should not have been released because it was so far after the death of Jim Morrison. And but anyway, it's a good album. It's a good solid Doors album. I picked that up from him. And then I was at my booth and a guy came in and he had a few things for sale and nothing really good. He goes, well, I've got an app. It was like mantique type stuff, like old tools, primitive, old, mid-century stuff. Anyway, really wasn't interested in what he had. Because I got an album, man. You buy albums. And my buddy said, well, Rod will buy it from you, man. Let him see it. And he kind of blew him off and walked away. The guy came back in with the Electric Prunes in mono. In mono. And it gets better for me. Not just in mono, but a frickin' white label promo. And the album is in really, really good shape. So I got me a white label promo, mono, the Electric Prunes. And I was really shocked that this guy had it. Because when he said I have an album out there, I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, man. A beat up copy of Herb Alpert or a beat up copy of frickin', I don't know. But he brought this in and I was floored. And I got it for a really, really good price. It's always the same thing, people say. Either they're trying to get money up for their electric bill or they just need gas money. It's one of the two when you deal with flippers for a living. And this guy goes, I just need some gas money. So I pretty much just gave him gas money for it. He was cool with it. The Electric Prunes. Great Psych album. I don't have to explain to anyone about the Electric Prunes. Early Psych. Surprising the record was in good shape because a lot of times the promos they don't make it that long with all the wear and tear. And it does have the station written on it, KMEN. So, but I'm delighted. The Electric Prunes, and that's definitely a keeper. Can you hear it in the background? Those are people who died. And this was the radio song that everyone played. This was the single off of Jim Carroll's album. Those are people who died. Kind of morbid, but if you were a 14-year-old boy, man, this was a cool song. I'm a freaking 50-something-year-old, and it's still a cool song. Another thing I came across was a box of albums. Actually, 2 boxes. And the guy wanted $10 a box. And there's a whole bunch down here I'm not going to show because it's, let me grab just one of them. It's stuff like this. Clarence Welk. And that was just at random. But there was a couple good things mixed up. So I gave him $10 a box. And in one of the boxes, I found David Peel and the Lower East Side. And this is a great, great folk, psych, rock album. Pledge of Allegiance is on it. The song Legalize Marijuana. Just crazy, crazy music. Crazy. Girls, girls, girls. And I believe the Beastie Boys sampled that song for their song Girls. But David Peel. And this is a really, really good. If you like folky psych music, this album is definitely worth checking out if you come across it. And I think the average price for it's right around $20. So I did really, really good scoring this. And I'm stoked with it. I'm keeping them. Keeping them. Also in the box was Elvis Costello. It did not have a cover, so I had to kind of rig one up. But it was in great condition. It's Armed Forces. All there was the sleeve, and the album looked like it was hardly ever played. This is a great, great album, Armed Forces. If you know Elvis Costello, you know this is one of his better ones. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Accidents will happen. Party Girl. So, sounds like I got to skip. I need to clean that record. I don't think it was skipping the first time I played it. So, really, really good, clean copy. The cover's not so hot, but Van Morrison. Great album by Van Morrison. Young Lovers Do, Sweet Thing, some really fine stuff. Van Morrison, like some Van Morrison, and when it's in a box with a bunch of other albums and you're only paying $10 a box, that's a good thing, because this is about a $15 album probably in this condition. No, come on, man. Don't you hate getting the sleeve back in there? Jimi Hendrix. The album has one skip on it. Other than that, it's in really, really good shape. Jimi Hendrix, Band of Gypsies, when he was doing the Band of Gypsies thing. So, and that's what I'm going to flip. I'm probably going to flip that. Not that I don't like the album. I do. I've got a bunch of Hendrix. I don't have this one, but I'm going to hold off for a better copy of it. It's an album called Diffrent Strokes. It's a compilation album. It's got some cool stuff on here. It's got Big Brother and the Holding Company, Paco, the Chamber Brothers, Johnny Winter, It's a Beautiful Day, Soft Machine, Alvin Bishop. So, Redbone. Very, very cool comp album. Everyone's heard of CCR, of course, but I'd never seen this one. This is a K-Tel Presents CCR. 20 super hits. So there's 20 songs on here, 10 on each side, so you know they're like really abbreviated. They're really edited down to like 2 minutes a piece. I'd never seen this one before. I just don't like the way the editing on it, how they were shortened up. So I'll throw that in my booth. Kiss, Alive. Kind of a rough copy, but it's not a bad copy. You can see there's some wear and tear on the cover. Looks like something was stuck to it at one time. But I'd definitely get a few bucks for this one. I put it in the booth. George Thorogood. That's one I'm going to keep. I like George Thorogood. This is an original issue from Rounder Records. And it's still in really, really good shape. And again, this is one that looks like it really wasn't played. Rounder Records, George Thorogood. I got to see him a few times when I was younger. I saw him like 3 times at George Mason University in Virginia. And he always put on a really, really good show. And he really worked his ass off to put on a good show. George Thorogood. He's one of the guys I think is kind of underrated in the VC. He's not the best guitar player out there, but he's solid. He loves the blues. He loves what he does, and he gives 100% at every show I've ever seen him at. George Thorogood. And last but not least, I picked up a copy of this about a month ago for $1. Now I got another copy of it that was in the box. The Cars, their debut album. So, good album. Now the question I asked at the beginning of the video, would it be wrong to hoard this album out of somebody's apartment? Well, on most circumstances, yeah, it would be. But I'm a flipper and I'm a picker, and you know that's how I get stuff to put in my antique booth. And a lady called me and said, "Hey Rod, she has some apartments above an old department store, and the building's about 75 years old. So these apartments are really old, but there's still people living in them. But I'm just trying to set the scene. They're, you know, the old apartments you'd see on top of the stores." She said someone just moved out a couple weeks ago and they forgot a bunch of their crap. Or not forgot, but they intentionally they left a bunch of crap. You could have everything in it if you clean it out. And this happens to us a lot in this business. And you have to go in there, take everything out, make sure it's swept. And sometimes it's a pain in the butt. Sometimes it's a complete pullover, because all you're doing is taking crap to the dump. But you do get lucky and find stuff sometimes that's worth money, and you actually make money at it. Well, I didn't find a lot, but I did find this past time. Found the soundtrack to Times Square. Just sitting there all alone. So I guess this was my payment for cleaning out the apartment. There wasn't that much stuff. It was like 3 or 4 boxes. So that was my payment. So I'd never seen the movie. I remember the movie being out when I was a kid, young kid, 13, 14, seeing it advertised in Rolling Stone magazine, but never saw the movie. The soundtrack was really good. A lot of new wave and punk. The Pretenders are on here, Roxy Music, Gary Newman, Joe Jackson, the Talking Heads, the Ramones. A lot of cool stuff, man. The Cure. So if you know anything about the movie, let me know. I just know it's about 2 guys or 2 girls that go to Times Square. I think they're runaways, but I'd love to see the movie. Never got to, but the soundtrack is great. So that's my little vinyl haul the past couple weeks or so. Did not make record. Let me show you this. Also picked this up. I got this for free as well. Santana, Africa Speaks. And this is a great CD. I picked this up. I saw it on eBay and it was listed as the LP. The vinyl record for, God, I think it was like $10.99. So I bought it. Boom, paid for it. Then just 20 minutes later, I got a message from the seller saying, "I'm sorry, I can't sell you the album for that low of a price." He said one of my employees must have put it on there for that. He said that was the CD price. No worries, man. Life is too short to bitch and complain about stuff. So I said, don't worry about it. You know, I won't give you a bad review. No big deal. And to show his appreciation, he sent me the CD. I said, man, you ain't got to worry about that. He didn't message me, nah, man. I've got your address because you ordered the album. I mail you the CD. So he gave it to me for free, which was cool. And it's a cool CD. Africa Speaks. Wonderful stuff on here. But anyway, what was I saying? That's my little finds for this video. Did not make it to Record Store Day this year. I hope you did. I hope you had a good haul. My daughter was my ride. They were having car problems. So she let me know the night before, Dad, I can't do it. Which is cool. No big deal. But the cool thing is, 2 days ago, was it 2 days ago, 3 days ago, I found the Chet Baker Record Store Day release on eBay for less than $30. And that's probably about what the seller paid for it on Record Store Day. It's the Record Store Day release, or at least it's supposed to be. Mono edition. And so I was stoked, so I got it. So I got one of the albums I was going to get anyway. And my cousin Glenn, it's actually my wife's cousin Glenn, but been married to her for 30 years, so he might as well be my cousin. He picked up Alice Cooper Dragontown for me because he knew I wanted one of the two Alice Coopers. And that's the one he found. And he wasn't even going to Record Store Day. It's not his bag. But he was here Thanksgiving night. And he felt kind of bad for me, you know. The old fart can't go to Record Store Day. That's what he lives for. So he went there on his way to work the next day. And so I can't get it to Christmas because I won't see him again to then. But life is good, guys. Hope everyone's doing well. Peace. Y'all be good to each other.